Welcome back to another exciting edition of the Pointless Exercise Podcast. It's Thursday night, so we're going to talk with our friend Tom Loxas. Tom, how are you?
Okay.
Are you,
like Alex Bregman, all my money has been deferred.
Yes, that's right. He's got $80 million of deferred money. It's $1 a year for 80 million years. It doesn't seem like a great deal, but that's okay. How surprised were you last night? They were recording this on Thursday. So on Wednesday night, when we found out that the Red Sox had the winning bid, that the average annual value for that contract is $40 million.
Yeah. When you look at it like that, it is a shock. And I knew the Cubs wouldn't touch that. And, you and I were just talking before we started that we were pleasantly surprised that the Cubs would even go as high as they did. But, I figured it would be around 30-ish million to get it done, depending on how the opt-outs looked. But, I did not expect him to get, what Boston did. So,
and I guess
to Boston, they really wanted him.
People have been trying to figure out the deferrals, think that it probably is more like in present value money. It probably is just a little more than $30 million.
Right.
And I get the feeling, just knowing Boris, like I do, Scott and I are pals. And because Bregman is changing positions to go to Boston, my guess is at some point the Cubs basically were asked to structure it the way the Red Sox did. And they decided not to. And I really can't blame them for that. He's not going to opt out of $40 million.
I saw people saying that he still might. How do you justify that?
Yeah, where is he going to get that money? Cody was afraid to opt out of $24 million.
And isn't $40 million like superstar money still?
Well, it's what they're going to have to offer Kyle Tucker to keep him.
For sure.
It's so you get the feeling, that basically the number was if you wanted Bregman, you weren't the Tigers, you offered more years and more money and didn't get him. You had to get him $120 million, and the Cubs wanted to do it over 4 years with 2 opt-outs. I was really surprised that the Cubs wanted 2 guaranteed years. And that tells me something about what I think their plans were if they got him. And the Red Sox were basically like, well, you can have the 120. We want to do it over. We want you off the books by year 4.
Yeah.
And that's because the Red Sox they're under the luxury tax even after they sign him. They have the money. The Cubs have the money. Everybody has the money. And I just think they looked at it and said, that's fine, but we don't want to be paying you $30 million 4 years from now. We'd rather pay you more up front, and then you can leave when you're 34, which is pretty smart, I think. And I'm reading way too much into this. I think when I saw the Cubs wanted 2 guaranteed years, to me that meant step 2 was trade Nico, and Matt Shaw becomes your second baseman.
Yeah,
because otherwise you're blocking Matt for 2 years, and I don't think they want to do that.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I think, and plus Nico would have given him a little bit of salary relief to be able to maybe do something at the deadline. So that was my take all along, was that was going to happen. And even if it didn't, I think Nico would have got traded, near the deadline possibly, especially if Shaw looked like he was ready.
Yeah.
And now we got no choice. Shaw's got to be ready.
Yeah. Yeah. No pressure, kid.
Yeah.
Just don't be Kevin Ory or Gary Scott.
Unless you're going to be comfortable with Justin Turner being in the mix.
So I was completely anti-Justin Turner until Tuesday's podcast when Dave Brown talked me into the value of having him on your team.
Okay.
But he is not an option if Matt Shaw doesn't make it at third base, because you can't play Justin Turner at third base more than just a handful of times. But he becomes the right-handed bat that Counsell clearly wants to have, that he treated Patrick Wisdom like he was when he really wasn't.
Right.
He's the guy who will face the tough lefties when you don't want Michael Busch to face him and to play first base. And then he'll be the DH when Seiya's not DHing. Like if somebody gets hurt and say has to go play the outfield, or you just want to rest, you want to load up on righties one day, and you Turner DHs. You probably make a cameo at second base if you have a big enough lead late in the game, where you feel like he's a ground ball to his left isn't going to kill you because he may not get it and may spike himself. So I could see that happening. And it may have happened. Well, it probably wouldn't have. It wouldn't have happened regardless of whether they got Bregman or not. But now I think it probably will. And that's fine. But then they still don't have a backup plan to Shaw if something happens, if he's bad. So he just can't be bad.
Yeah. Not at this time.
I'm a little more comfortable with it than I think the assumption is, and assumptions is that he's going to hit. That he's hit everywhere. He'll hit okay no matter. Worst case, he's okay with the bat. Likely he'll be better than okay. And then is he going to be worse than Christopher Morel was at third base last year? No. I mean, he'd have to play. He could play it left-handed and probably play it better than Morel. So I guess they'll be okay. This would have been nice. This gave you certainty at third base for the next year or two if you got Bregman, where you have complete uncertainty.
Yeah, we talked about how legit the lineup would look too with him in it. But I mean, I don't know where you're at on this, but I still feel like even though Bregman would have been probably the most fun and most sure thing for them, I still feel like another starter would be probably even as important, if not more. You know what I mean? So if you could talk me into getting over the Bregman thing a lot easier if they were to add another starter.
Yeah, if they trade for Dylan Cease.
Yeah.
Then you don't really
I'd be
care
just as happy.
Alex Bregman. Yeah.
Other than the fact that he's a rental. That's the only problem. We got a lot of those.
Yeah. So if instead you traded for Michael King, then you get him for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd be much happier with that.
Yeah. Although, is that a mutual option? I forget.
Yeah,
the Padres had to jump through weird hoops because they didn't know how much money they'd have to pay this year. So his thing is very backloaded. Like it's, I forget how they did it. He's got a big buyout. I think he has a big guarantee for year 2, but also a big buyout. So he gets paid no matter what, and they don't have to pay him a lot of that money till next year. Which honestly, the Cubs would probably be cool with too.
Right, and then meanwhile, the Padres are still stockpiling starting pitchers, which is peculiar.
Yeah, it makes you think that maybe they really do want to move one.
Yeah.
But AJ Preller does weird stuff. So who knows?
Yeah.
Maybe he's got this idea. We're just going to have 10 starting pitchers. We're going to go the opposite of everybody else. We're going to go 10-man rotation, and they're all going to take 8 innings every time.
He's taking the Bulls blueprint, just having 9 to 10 really good starting pitchers.
Did you see the Bruce Levine tweet about? Of course, he had a typo. We meant to write many, and he wrote many. He said,
"No, I didn't see that."
Jed and Tom Ricketts had many phone messages. Emails and texts.
He said emails and texts. Yeah,
emails and texts about.
Yeah, I subtweeted him on Twitter. I'm like, I'm gonna have to see those.
About stretching the budget, and he said flat out that they don't want to defer money because they feel like they're burned. They're still paying for Jason Hayward and John Lester.
Yeah,
and it took 30 seconds to Google and see that they're paying John Lester $2 million this year and next year, and Hayward $5 million this year and next year, and that's it. $7 million. Yeah. When the perspective I put it in, they paid Trey Mancini more money last year to not play for the Cubs than they're paying those two to not play for the Cubs. I don't think it's a big deal.
No.
And it's basic economics, right? If you defer money, then you have to set the money aside, but then that money can make money for you while you're waiting to pay it out. So you end up paying less money because your principal is less. You're earning interest on it, and then you're paying it out. So no, that would be. I hope. Oh, they're idiots though, that they're not doing it because they don't understand it.
Yeah, I just
Like, whoa.
I wonder myself, like, are they just not that deft, or they just don't want to do it?
Yeah. I mean, I do know you can get yourself in. Well, basically, you just get made fun of, right? Like the Mets still get made fun of a Bobby Bonilla day. That was
Yeah.
to a ridiculous extreme.
Yeah.
The best example is to look at the fact that the Dodgers effectively signed Shohei for 10 years, $700 million. He only counts as like $40 million on their luxury tax every year. And when they go to pay out his $700 million, they're only going to really pay like 600 and some, I forget, I used to know the exact number, because of the because it has to go into an escrow account that they can't touch. And then it earns interest there. And they still only owe him 700 only. But they owe him that money. So the interest they make just means it's that much less that they have to lay out themselves.
Right.
I'd like the Cubs to figure this out, because they very well might need to make an offer kind of like that to Kyle Tucker. I don't want them to be like, well, we don't know how to do that, so we can't make him a competitive offer. It's like, all right, you need to figure this out by like November, please. But Jed was sure to like. He even thanked Todd, for God's sakes. He thanked Tom, Laura, and Todd for being willing to stretch the budget. Like, fuck off. I mean,
Yeah.
I get it. It's if you're the VP of baseball nonsense, it's nice to publicly thank the owners for willing to you're giving them credit for something they didn't have to do. You're giving them credit for money they ended up not having to spend, but they were willing to do it. So congratulations. It's like shouldn't that just be the expectation? That if you get a chance to get a really good player that'll help you win, you'll just find a way to do it, which is what they did. I don't get why we're supposed to give them extra credit for it.
Yeah, it almost felt to me like he was wrapping that around the fact that he was also saying that the budget is what stopped him from getting Bregman. So it's kind of like, well, Tom wouldn't let me go that far, but thank you for letting me try. It just sounded like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It sounded kind of weak to me, because we all know that if they it just, to me, it came off as Jed really wanted Bregman.
It did.
And
he seemed
he asked for him.
He seemed more disappointed.
He did.
Than I thought he would be. Like, he
agreed.
wasn't hiding it.
Yeah.
So he must have. And then I think Megan asked him if it ever got close, and he gave this kind of dismissive no. But to me, it looked like he at some point they thought they had him, just from the look. Like, no, it wasn't really close. In other words, like, you could almost see like the twinge of regret. Like, damn, we almost had him. And then our old buddy Craig Breslow ponied up an extra $10 million a year, and it was over.
Yeah, Boston got creative, got a little more aggressive, but at the same time, like, I mean, you and I probably wouldn't have done it. But at the same time, Jed's on a 1-year deal, and they are in a pretty good position to win this division. And if they did add Bregman, they would be hands-on favorites.
Yeah. It widely increases their margin of error to still win the
Definitely.
division.
Yeah.
And now they're back to but they're where they were last year. They were the best team in the division last year. And then they just didn't play like it for 2 months, and they let the Brewers get away from them. And they're better than they were last year, because they have Kyle Tucker, which they didn't have last year.
Yeah.
And we think they did a better job of fixing the bullpen, but we don't know until the guys actually throw.
Right.
And I see Bert is still clamoring for David Robertson. It's like, okay, I guess. It'd be fine, but I don't. As a 40-year-old, is he your savior? Like, if he comes in at a relatively cheap, why not? Why wouldn't you do it? But he brings him up every time he writes about the fact that Cubs still need to do something. It's like, can we get a little more bold than David Robertson? Like, to me, Dylan Cease or Michael King that's what you really need to do.
Agreed. Yeah. Although Suarez still, interested me too. I mean, if you're going to do the bullpen, you're going to do it with a guy that is going to guaranteed be your closer. But
yeah, because you can still, getting Ryan Brazier shouldn't have closed your bullpen. If you were still, even after you got Presley, if you were still interested in Suarez, you should still be interested in Suarez now. I mean,
for sure. But I still do like what they did. I mean, Presley obviously is not what he was 2 years ago, but he's still pretty good. And Porter Hodge is anywhere near as good as he looked at times last year. I think that they're going to have some opportunity to be a lot better. But yeah, I'd still would add on, but I would rather do it from a starting point.
Yeah, and so, where did I read? Somewhere I read that they think Suarez is still the most likely Padre to get traded. And I think a lot of it's because they have Jeremiah Estrada.
Yeah.
Good job, Cubs. Although who knows?
That happens.
How would he be this Jeremiah Estrada if he was still with the Cubs? You got to wonder. As soon as he got to the Padres, he immediately was better. So
the Padres must have a good pitch lab.
Yeah, their pitch lab. They got even better magic cameras than the Cubs do. They got him in there and went, "Oh, look at this! Theirs must be out of focus. Because here we're going to fix this." But yeah, so Jed was caping for his ownership, but doing it in a weird way. Because you're exactly right. He was like,
"Yes, I mean, it was kind of
like, hey,
like
they did. They both, yeah. I got to give them credit. They really stepped up. They didn't step up enough, but they stepped up. That's kind of what it looked like.
Yeah, it was like Jed. It just seemed like Jed was able to go out and say the budget wasn't quite there, but it was still strong.
But it's not my money. They can spend it if they want, but I don't see the wisdom of going that when it was clear they needed to go. Well, I don't know. I can't finish the sentence because I keep thinking in my head a different thing. The Red Sox is a 3-year deal with 2 options. They're both Bregman's options, though, so it's probably a 3-year deal.
Yeah.
But the Cubs was a 4-year deal where the options were after 26 and after 27. So they wanted him for 2 years. And I wondered if maybe that's why they wouldn't go the extra money, because in their mind, that means they go over this year again, and then next year, if they keep Tucker, they go over a 3rd year in a row, and they don't want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that to me is different than budget. I guess it is budget, because if ownership tells you can't go over this number because I don't want to pay the tax, that becomes your budget. So I guess it is budget. I'm just glad they're going to have the 2nd and 5th pick now. Their 2nd and 5th round picks, because Dan Cantervich turn that into gold. It'll be far better than anything they could have got out of Alex Bregman. Yeah,
for anybody who thinks that was, they coveted those picks so much. I mean, you can see the disappointment on Jed's face that he didn't get Bregman. So that was not a concern for him.
Yeah, but so I guess he got asked, do you think the team you've got now is the team you're going to take to Japan, or I guess they open in Arizona, which is confusing because their spring training is in Arizona and then they're opening in Arizona. And so you don't know what they're referring to when they say you're in Arizona.
Yeah.
And he basically said that he phrased it interestingly. He said, well, free agent wise, if we make additions, they're not going to be big ones. Well, there's no big ones to add anymore. There's nobody out there. So yeah, of course that would be your answer. But the way he said it didn't rule out a trade for somebody significant.
Yeah.
And they've got the prospect, supposedly, they've got the prospect capital to do it. So
yeah, I just didn't like the fact that he was saying that they might just like tweak around the margins.
Yeah.
Like, no.
And that to me means Justin Turner. That to me is tweaking around the margins. That's basically adding a more proven bench bat than the ones you have, which I think they should do, but they shouldn't just stop there. And it doesn't have to be him. Although I was looking at the list the other day, there's not much left.
No.
Like we're not going to have JD Martinez. He can't play a position, so that doesn't really help you.
No, I was just thinking all along it was either Bregman or, Cease or something like that. So if they didn't get Bregman, I was prepared for them to pivot to go get a pitcher, but we'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'd like to see him do it from a position of strength and not wait for somebody to blow their arm out in camp and then call the Padres.
Yeah.
We found Matthew Boyd in a ditch again. So, you're going to need a starter. Oleg and I had a disagreement on the pod last week about how the roster works when they go to Japan.
Yeah.
Because he was under the assumption that you basically have to like make your final roster decisions then. And I don't think that's it at all. I mean, I think you can take anybody on your 40-man, take them to Japan, and then you're still setting your roster at the end of spring training. With the exception of like if Matt Shaw's gonna be your third baseman, you have to put him on the 40-man. You can't just take him to Japan.
Right.
But for other guys, if they're on the 40, and we looked it up, the Padres only took 2 starting pitchers, which lent that credence to me. They left starting pitchers in Arizona. And I remember they they did the Cease trade while they were in Korea. And then he tried to get there and he couldn't get there.
Oh yeah.
So he just had to like go to spring training camp and there was like nobody there. There's like 2 other starting pitchers that that were going to be on the team, and then a bunch of minor leaguers running around. He's like, "Hey, this is great. Who are you guys? Don't worry, you don't need to learn any of their names, Dylan." What? So I think it'd be funny if the Cubs traded for him while they were in Japan. The same thing happened.
That would be great.
It's like the Fresh Prince meme. He just walks into the empty living room and looks around like, "Where is everybody?" Oh, they're in Japan. Supposedly we got good news. Nico is soft tossing.
There you go.
That's all Nick Madrigal ever did. So he's probably ready to go.
Yeah.
Up to throwing 20 feet. That'll work. That's enough. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, so at first I thought the timing of that report was perfectly lined up with them signing Bregman. I thought, hey, well, here, Nico's soft toss and he's ready. Come and get him.
Yeah. I wonder what say they had gotten Bregman. They don't have to trade Nico right away. It's not like, if their goal is create a spot for Shaw and save ourselves, a big chunk of his $11.5 million, you don't have to trade him in March or April. You can wait. I'm just interested what his market is, because he's not like it cracked me up that the Mariners are always the team most attached to him because they need offense. And it's like, well, you're not really getting a lot with Nico. You're getting singles, which is fun. That's good. But he's not an impact bat. He's an impact glove who comes with a league average or slightly above bat, which is valuable, but it's not going to fix your offense. So I wonder what teams need a great field, decent bat second baseman. It might not be as easy. I'm sure they've tried. It's probably not as easy to trade him as they think it is.
Yeah, I mean, there's, like you said, there's no hurry to trade him now. So,
yeah, there really wouldn't have been even if they had signed Bregman.
No,
that could be a June or July trade, just to get some of his money off the books, so you can go out and make some impact deadline move, like they have the last couple of years. All the stars have been bringing in. I don't know. I was really surprised when I saw. I don't know that I was that surprised when I saw. Well, not that the Red Sox signed him. When I saw who the 3 finalists were, according to Buster Olney, I felt like if he hadn't signed with the Tigers yet, he wasn't going to sign with the Tigers. They've been dangling a 6-year deal to him forever, and he just didn't want to go there.
It's exactly what I said to somebody yesterday. It's always the Tigers and the Blue Jays are always just trying to grab somebody, and It's just not happening. But I thought all along it was really going to be the Houston or the Cubs, but I didn't think Boston was that serious because we didn't hear them a lot.
Yeah.
Not as much. So they were.
I was skeptical of it because I just couldn't imagine he wanted to, when he's 31, he wants to change positions.
Yeah.
And I wonder if I still wonder if he's going to have to. Like, I think it was Jim Bowden today who's like, I get that he's a good athlete. He probably can handle second, but why wouldn't you just DH Casas, move Devers to first, and play Bregman at third?
Yeah, that's smart.
Devers is not a very good defensive third baseman. So you're going to have, and then Bregman even, he's not going to be a great defensive second baseman. He never played it. You're going to have two of those spots. I mean, why would you weaken two spots when you can just do one? So we'll see where he ends up.
Yeah, that would be odd. Although there was some talk that he loves hitting in Fenway. So
yeah,
that might be
like
worth
a career 1,200 OPS in Fenway.
Yeah,
because
Jesse was trying to say, I don't know if you saw, but Jesse was trying to say that the Wrigley, park, the way it's played the last couple of years, the park factor is definitely something that would scare people away that are trying to opt out.
Yeah, because you definitely should base your thing on 108-year-old park and on 2 years of weather. That's what you should base your decision on.
Yeah.
Dave and I were looking. He's basically his home road splits for his career are pretty even.
Yeah.
So he didn't even really take advantage that much of the Crawford box. He was just a good hitter, and he hit well everywhere. But it was alarming. His walk rate dropped by over half last year, and his on base average took a tumble. It was like 315. He's like a career 360 on base, and last year it was 315. So there is some concern. You don't get better when you hit 30.
No, and that's why I'm glad that. I think the Cubs. Do you think they were thinking that after 2 years he would opt out? Because unless they were front loading the money, I don't know why he would.
Yeah. Yeah, because even that's why to me, offered him 40 is a non-starter because it's a guarantee he's not going to opt out. You're basically you're just going to pay him all that money because he's going to stay. Maybe they thought if they stuck to the 4 years 30 that there's a chance he'd opt out, but he'd have to have a great year to think he could get more than 30. So I think they would have had him for 4 years. And I don't think that contract is going to look great in years 3 and 4. That's why I don't know that I would have risked it. I mean, I would have been, to me, the perfect scenario was he plays for the Cubs for a year and then he tests it somewhere else. And they were willing to let him play there too, at least, before he had to.
And then there might be a work stoppage in 2 years.
Yeah, I wondered if that plays into the offers players are getting. Because the idea is we're not going to have to pay the third year of this. That's free money. They're not getting any of that.
Yeah, they may have factored a little bit into it, but Boston deferring it, that was the kicker.
I wonder, does your luxury tax then automatically reset if you don't play for a year? Probably not.
It's a good question, yeah.
It probably doesn't. It probably rolls over to the next year. Because otherwise everybody goes under, which players would like. But maybe it's not even... Maybe that's something you literally determine in the CBA when you're making the new one. You can put that rule as to whether they reset or not. I don't know. I'm so glad we get to worry about these stupid financial things instead of just players and what they do on the field. We've got to have a minor in economics to understand half of the stuff. But thank God the Cubs have big brain guys like Jed and Carter figuring this stuff out for us. And Crane. I'm sure Crane is invaluable.
Yeah, I was going to say, Crane's killing it.
I noticed that both Sahadev and Patrick will, because they both wrote different things this offseason about where they both stated that Jed gets his budget from Tom Ricketts and Crane Kenny. It's can we just leave Crane out of the sentence? Even if he does hit, I don't want to hear it. Right? Little business boy. Please don't even make me think that he has a say in this stuff, which I'm sure he does. His job should simply be, they tell him how much money they need, and he's got to figure out how to make it. That should be his job. Not to be telling Jed, how he ought to be spending his cash. But, I mean, that guy has lingered in that organization for far longer than he has any merit, any right to. Yeah. And so it's too late now. We're stuck with him forever. I thought it was funny when they asked Craig, the Japanese reporter asked Craig if Shota was going to pitch in Japan. And Craig first answered it seriously, like, well, I don't know, we'll figure it out. I mean, he's one of our best starters. And then he's like, actually, he goes, I'm pretty sure it's mandated that we have to pitch him in Japan. I just think it would be funny if they went over there and didn't play it and didn't use it. No, he's our third starter. We're saving him. Like, what?
And meanwhile, the Dodgers are going to trot out like the 3 best Japanese pitchers of all time.
Yeah, I saw Dave Roberts interviewed yesterday, and he said, are you going to pitch Yamamoto and or either Yamamoto or Sasaki going to pitch? And he's like, well, I'm pretty sure both of them are going to pitch in Japan. We're not going over there to not use them. Yeah.
And it sounds like Shohei's going to pitch at some point in that series, is the rumor.
Really? Because
not the start.
Dave was saying
maybe throw him in the mix there.
Maybe that's what Dave was saying. He won't.
Yeah.
He was saying he didn't think he'd pitch till May, but maybe he meant he won't start until May.
Yeah,
but I could see it. If he's healthy enough, why wouldn't you give him an inning? I mean, what's the worst that could happen? Tommy John number 3 coming up. Oh, although I guess technically he didn't have a Tommy John this time. It wasn't a complete ligament replacement, so it doesn't qualify, but it is. I mean, that's what he had. It's I don't know, some other old White Sox pitcher. It's he got a Jerry Koosman. He didn't get a Tommy John. I think it's pretty much the same. Yeah, I was going to say something else about Robert said something else about the series that I thought was interesting, and I can't think of what it was. So that's great that I brought it up. And then I was wrong I did a solo pod last week, and I had read somewhere that because Shohei was going to be a pitcher this year, the Dodgers were going to have to go a guy short on when he couldn't pitch. But it's the opposite of that. Because he's designated a two-way player, which means he does not count as a pitcher on their roster. So they actually get an extra. They get an extra pitcher because they have Shohei. And that's when I told Davis, well, the Cubs should just designate Shota as a two-way player then, even though he doesn't do it. Is there a paperwork we need to fill out? Is there a form? We need to get it notarized, and then we can have an extra pitcher? Seems like a loophole, huh? You're telling me just because he's a starting pitcher and he hit 50 homers and he stole 50 bases last year, then I'm supposed to believe that he does both. Oh, I guess he does. The Dodgers, they put up their 10 potential starting pitchers that they can have this year. And I think it was, I don't know if it was Plesac. It was somebody who looked at it. He's like, well, if they're healthy, and they never are at the same time, but if they are, they have 6 aces on their team. Because they have Blake Snell and Tyler Glasnow and Shohei and Yamamoto and Sasaki, and I'm forgetting somebody, that are all really good. And then there's other guys, like Dustin
Kershaw.
May. Yeah, Kershaw's back now. The Kershaw thing was funny. They kept putting up pending physical. And I was like, yeah, but he needs to flunk the physical because they need to put him on the 60-day injured list because they don't have room on the 40-man for him.
Yeah.
And in the Athletic, there was some anonymous executive from an American League team was like, what are they going to do? They don't have room. They don't have room on the roster for 32 really good players. That's what the injured list is for. They'll just stash dudes. And if you have Glasnow, he's usually on it anyway.
Yeah.
So you don't even have to You don't have to falsify documents. He's just going to hurt himself, and he's going to end up there anyway, and then be awesome in the 18 games he does pitch it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cubs have a similar problem with all their aces, like Jordan Wicks and Javier.
We don't have one. Although I did declare Steele as an ace a couple years ago, but yeah, I don't know. Not so much.
Yeah, I feel like
he's
him and Shota
close.
are twos, right?
Totally, yeah.
Yeah. Better than having a bunch of threes. They've got two twos. And then Boyd a three when he's healthy. He's good.
He's good. When he's healthy, yeah, he's really
him
good.
And Ty on both fours.
Yeah, that's how I would look at it.
Yeah.
I think Shota on a really good team is a 3.
Yeah, and I think
but we'll see.
He was so good last year.
He really was.
A lot of that was if Jed can bitch about the hitters being hampered by the weather.
Yeah.
But his pitchers all got a nice boost from it. And nobody more than Shota, who still gave up the third most homers in the National League. Yeah. Even despite the wind howling in.
I was going to say a lot of his balls really, died.
Do you know who gave up this? You know who gave up the second most homers in the National League?
No,
because the Cubs added him, Colin Ray.
That makes sense.
Oh, good. Aaron Nola gave up the most, though, so it does show that you can still be really good and give up a bunch of homers. And Shota, we knew that from Shota. He gave up a lot of homers in Japan, and the whole thing is,
he's a fly ball pitcher.
You just can't give up a lot of base runners, so that if they do hit one, it's one run, it's not 3. And he was good at it. He did it. He was good at it. But yeah, I do feel like they squandered the best year he's ever going to have last year.
Possibly.
Just given his age,
Yeah, true. Yeah.
It's not like he's 24 and he came over and he had this great rookie year. He's 31 and he had this great rookie year. That doesn't mean I think he's going to be bad. I just don't think he's going to be 15-3 again.
No. Yeah, that's why I'd love to hedge my bets with him and slot he and Steele down in 2-3.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it, you get yourself a real ace like Cease, and then they line up pretty well in a playoff series.
Yeah. Yeah, if that's your 1-2-3 in that first round, because let's face it, as much as we'd like to think the Cubs are playing for the second seed, they're playing for the third, I would think.
Yeah,
you're going to be playing in the in the 2 out of 3, and if you can go into it with Cease or King and then Steele and Shota, you're in really good shape to get out of that.
Yeah,
and Craig knows. I mean, when he took the Brewers, you'd have Woodruff and Burns. Oh, that's right, that never worked. Whoops. But still, Craig will figure it. He'll figure it out this time.
Yeah,
he should have a better team. Better offense, at least. That was the thing. Everybody, I'd like to make fun of it too. The fact the Brewers would always go and then go home. They could never hit. They never had a decent offense. It's like, well, that's why they can't win. They can't score any runs. They face good pitching in the playoffs, and their offense blows, and they can't score.
Yeah,
not like the Cubs. Not like Cub fans have any. We don't know what that's like.
Yeah, Burns, Woodruff, and Garcia should get you into the next round.
Yeah, but when you're only going to score 2 runs, their margin for error is pretty low. And then they'd give up 3 and lose. So I was surprised how long it took the Mets to finally sign Pete Alonso.
Yeah.
But I guess when you see the contract they got him for, it's not that surprising. They basically just waited him out.
Yeah.
And 2 years, $50 million, I think. 54, maybe.
Mean, why didn't the Cubs do that?
Yeah, exactly.
I would have done that, yeah.
Although maybe that's he's not doing that if he has to move.
Yeah, maybe.
I'll do that in New York. I'm not doing that with the Cubs.
Yeah, and he's going to have Soto hitting probably right in front of him.
I was trying to explain to one of my friends the hometown discount concept and how I think the Cubs misunderstand it. Goes shockingly. because we're going to hear it a lot with Tucker, right? Like Tucker's going to play here for a whole year, and they're going to be like, oh, he's going to love it, and he's going to okay. The hometown discount simply means it doesn't mean you don't have to make a really good offer. It means if a player is happy and you make a really good offer, some other team has to really blow your offer out of the water to get it.
Right.
Yeah. It doesn't mean if the going rate for Kyle Tucker is $400 million, that the Cubs can offer like $320 and get it. It means if they offer $400 and some other team offers like $430 over 8 years or whatever, Kyle may not go back to the Cubs and go like, we need $431. He may just do it, but you still have to make big boy offers to keep the player. And he's like,
yeah, for sure.
I thought that just meant they don't have to move. It's when I was in college and Richard, maybe it was after, I don't remember when Richard Dunn left. He was a free agent. And I was telling my buddy, he's not going to go anywhere. He's too lazy to move. He's not going to want to buy a new house. And he signed with the Niners. So I was wrong. Even Richard Dent wasn't too lazy to move for more money.
No, I definitely think there's something to it. I definitely think that players love playing here. So if he does fall in love with it, it just gives them at worst equal footing.
Yeah.
But a slight advantage maybe.
Yeah. And I just worry that they'll just expect he likes it here.
Yeah.
We don't have to offer that much money. Like, well, moving van doesn't cost, $5 million. He can easily afford to move. But I do expect, I think he's really going to like it.
Yeah.
I think he's going to like playing for the Cubs. He's going to like playing in Chicago. He's going to they're going to have to not want. Well, they're just going to have to not want to act like a big market team again to lose him, I think.
Yeah.
Which they definitely can do. That's right in their wheelhouse. They could definitely do it.
Well, just especially with all these other teams that are getting so creative with money. Yeah, they better be prepared to do that with him.
Yeah. Yeah, you put yourself at a disadvantage for no apparent reason. I don't understand it. I never understood their unwillingness when they had the World Series team to paper over Hayward's contract.
Yeah.
Like that more than anything shortened their window because it affected the way they did all kinds of stuff. I mean, there were two things: Hayward's contract, and also Theo's plan was we're going to have all these hotshot young position players that we drafted, and we're going to pay for pitching. Mm-hmm. And then as those guys start to deserve big contracts, we're going to have this pitching develop behind it. So we'll go from cheap hitting and expensive pitching to expensive hitting and cheap pitching. And they didn't develop any pitchers, and they couldn't do it. Yeah. And they had to pay more money for like Cole Hamels and than they thought they were going to, and it screwed up their whole plan. But the only reason it screwed up their whole plan is the Ricketts weren't willing to just go, we don't care, we want to win. We're gonna stretch the budget. They just wouldn't do it. They closed their own window. Great, nice job. So it makes it hard for me to sit here and be like, well, I mean, they wouldn't have traded for Kyle Tucker if they weren't going to keep him. That's a common sense thing, but that doesn't mean that's the Cub. That's not the Cub way. Common sense does not rule the day.
I mean, Cease has a chance. I mean, I'm sorry. Tucker has a chance to be like one of the biggest stars in Chicago.
Yeah.
I mean, between him and Caleb and maybe Connor Bedard, although nobody really, cares about hockey as much.
No. The Blackhawks have to really win.
We're starved for stars in this town. So if Tucker has a really good year in Chicago, the fans are just going to go crazy for him.
And this is where that's Crane's job, right? Is to monetize that popularity.
That's it.
That's what his role is, not to like wander around the clubhouse and act like he's part of the front office and all stuff. No, your job, Mr. Business Dude, is we have a really good player. You need to wring every frickin' penny out of this guy you can so that it's easy for us to re-sign him because he's paying for himself.
And having a marketable star, I mean, the Sammy thing should have taught him anything, is that that saves you from the doldrums.
But look at
The box office on TV.
But look at their attitude towards Sammy for 15 years.
Yeah. But what,
persona
it was
non grata.
Though, yeah. But yeah.
But it just makes me wonder how much they actually value that. I mean, they had the World Series team full of all those like cool young players.
Yeah.
And I don't think they maximize their, I don't know if they did.
No.
I guess winning, they made so much, they still make money off the 2016 team. They can, I'm surprised they don't do, 2016 bobbleheads all the time, every year. Here's another one. Do you have this one? How about this one? Remember we won the World Series that one time? That was great.
And I saw the giveaways. I saw you write about the giveaways coming up.
I love it. I think it might be my favorite column every year is making fun of the giveaways. But isn't it funny that there's no Kyle Tucker giveaway?
Yeah.
Why isn't
that?
There?
Is.
You traded for a star. You bragged that you traded for a star.
Something with him, but no, huh?
No, they got Shota taking a poop in front of his locker. That's just the worst bobblehead I've ever seen. It's almost as bad as, remember Terrio in the fishing boat or in the canoe? Remember that one?
Yeah.
It's like, why is Shota not doing something cool? Like, in my mind, I pictured his bobblehead. It's like in the middle of his motion. He's got the cool leg kick and the socks and all that stuff. No.
Yeah.
He's sitting in front of his locker. And I guarantee
I thought there was some kind of joke with that. Like, what is that?
Well, I don't know. I think they did it because there's a coffee cup with Mike written on it next to him.
Okay.
It's like, you did the whole bobblehead for the Mike Imanaga Duncan joke? It's like, because that was my whole thing. I said, all right, why don't you do a cool bobblehead of Shota? And then why isn't one of the giveaways a coffee tumbler? You go to a Duncan and they sponsor it and it's got Mike Imanaga written on it. Like, I would get one of those. Do I have to come up with all the ideas? Because I will, if you need me to. I mean, I wouldn't have done a stupid King Tuck bobblehead, but I would have done a Kyle Tucker bobblehead. And there would have been a Kyle Tucker, like that, when they give out the new jersey, the new alternate jersey, it would be a Tucker one. That's what everybody would be wearing a Tucker one. Like, why aren't you like, I can't, if they're like, well, we had to order these way in advance. It's like, you traded for them in December. You had plenty of time, I think. Especially since a bunch of the stuff are mock-ups. So they clearly haven't made any of this shit yet. I think you could still change it. And I don't know. Maybe they'll surprise me. Maybe the jersey really will be a player and they just use the 25 as a placeholder.
Yeah.
But I think Pete LaCock wore 25 with the Cubs. I think they should give out a LaCock 25.
Gary Woods.
People would still be wearing that. I mean, everybody still wears their Fukudome shirts. You don't think they'll wear LaCock 25 around Wrigleyville? Of course they will.
That would go big at the Cubby Bear.
I think it would be funny if they did the thing and they had a Bregman giveaway listed. And they're like, oh, we didn't get it. Oh, we're not giving that away, I guess. Whoops. We're going to give away an Alex Bregman growth chart for kids, 6 through 12. And then you're off the chart.
Yeah, they should have totally done that.
They should do a Nick Madrigal growth chart, and it just goes to your knees, and that's it.
Yeah, they got some throwback ones, huh? They got the Maddox tarp thing, which I was there for, and Sandberg's glasses. Yeah, they should do some other good throwbacks.
Well, but the glasses aren't the Sandberg ones. They're these really cheap. They're just they're bad old 80s plastic cheap sunglasses that clip onto your thing. And I was saying that they should have either been they should have shaped them like the hairy ones, or they should replicate the flip downs. That would be a really cool giveaway. But instead they're like, well, no, these fell off a truck and we got them, so we're going to give them away. I noticed in the kid giveaways, they have 4 different giveaways of those little sliding gloves, the little oven mitts. And that was my joke. Ooh, somebody way overbought those. They got 4 of them. There's 4 days and they're giving those away to kids. But I like that there's a Pete Crow Armstrong bobblehead. I like that.
Yeah.
I think it's base running. It's a good bobblehead.
Yeah.
What was the bobblehead I didn't like? There was only one. Because I thought they did a nice job this year with the bobbles. Let me look real quick. Oh, I don't like the Clark the Cub humping the scoreboard one. I don't need that.
Someone's got to have some balls and have some fun with it. Like come up with a Lee Elia, like bobblehead that like has the rant. Like if you hit a button,
that would be great. You can even you can make it family friendly. You can bleep it if you want. I don't care. Yeah, they should do like ignominious moments in Cub history bobbleheads.
Yeah, like Mark Pryor, like
the Brant Brown drop fly ball bobblehead with you push the button and Santa. Oh no! And people would line up for those around the freaking block.
Could you imagine? I mean, I would definitely have a Mark Pryor towel in my
towel
den. Yeah.
Well, a towel drill bobblehead would be great. You could even have Larry Rothschild standing behind him.
Or like the Sammy Sosa, like Flintstone vitamins, or
a cork bat bobble would be good. A broken bat and there's cork sticking out of it.
Gary Wood smashing the boombox.
Yeah, and it's got a little spring on it. You can just hit the thing, and then it just over and over again, it just hits the boombox. It plays this awful salsa music, and every time it hits it, the music stops.
Or you could have one with Zambrano punching Barrett.
Punching Michael Barrett. Same thing. Like, you hit the button.
Barrett like pointing at the scoreboard. Some of my other favorites might be like Matt Clement and Zambrano sitting next to Dusty on the bench in the 03s and LCS.
Do you want us to warm up? No. Okay.
Or maybe like a commemorative plane ticket from Moises Alou and Ramos Ramirez in the 08 series. You heard this, right?
No. What is that? They already had their flights booked.
Yeah, they've
before
had their
game
flights
4?
booked before the last game. Yep.
So did I, though, unfortunately. I thought when he brought up plane ticket, I thought it was going to be a bobblehead of Jose Quintana's wife having a panic attack on the plane to LA and get diverted to Albuquerque.
Yeah, they bought their tickets to like, out of the country. They were ready to go.
Good.
Just in case. Yeah.
And they both went over for 4. That was a coincidence.
Yeah. Maybe like some Mark Race, like candy cigarettes for the kids.
They should have one where he's just a bobble where he's just smoking.
Or like a Slump Busters t-shirt.
I thought you were going to be a Slump Buster bobblehead. That would be a
Slump Buster t-shirt. Yeah.
That's for Cubs After Dark.
Yeah.
How come the Greg? I'm surprised they picked Greg. Al Nipper. He went on the tarp too. How come Al Nipper doesn't get a bobblehead sliding across the tarp?
Because I think Zimmer only got pissed when Maddox did it. He didn't give a fuck about Nipper getting hurt.
And that was my joke. Was
like, God damn it!
You get the bobblehead coming in the park, but on the way out, you get a commemorative letter with Greg Maddox's fine on it. You get that on the way out of the park that day.
Yeah. I was there for like all these things. I was at that game. I was at the 88 game. I was at the Brant Brown game. That's fucked up.
Yeah, maybe it was you. Did you ever think that? Maybe it was you.
Yeah. Oh, I knew anytime I bought a player's jersey, we talked about this, they got hurt.
Yeah.
So no more of that.
Why didn't you buy well, maybe you did. Did you buy a Madrigal last year? Is that why they sent him?
No.
Did you buy an Iowa Cub one? And first game, he broke his hand.
That's all it took, though. That's all it took to get rid of somebody. I would be happy to do that.
Yeah. Yeah, I like the Dansby hair headband thing. I think that's I like that kind of stuff.
That's fun.
I think they need to do more of that kind of stuff. And I get it.
Totally.
I mean, the sponsors dictate, like they try to pair things with sponsors. Sometimes it's always awkward, but I don't know. I think the umbrella hat thing can go. I think it's played out.
Yeah.
Because I was looking back, I wanted to link to an old, because I used to make fun. I wrote this every year for The Athletic. So I went back and found the 18 one. And sure enough, there's a umbrella headband giveaway in 2018 because I ran the Jay Johnston. Jay Johnston has a baseball card.
Yeah.
Where he's wearing his Cub umbrella one. Yeah. And I got to just rerun the same one. Oh, and I've made this point. I don't understand it. I don't know why they give away stuff when they play the Cardinals. Like, why are we giving this stuff to it? Half the stadium is Cardinal fans. Fuck them. They don't need a giveaway.
Totally.
They don't want it, and they shouldn't have it. Unless you want to give away toothbrushes, give them something they could use. The giveaway is a Hawaiian shirt. Oh, are you a Cardinal fan? No, here's your complimentary toothbrush. You know why they don't call it a teeth brush? Because it was invented in St. Louis. That's the world's oldest joke, or one of them.
Maybe you can give away Ozempic.
All right, getting 2 lines. Fatties to the left. We're going to give you a little injection before RFK Jr. outlaws them. But the Cubs will be fine with that.
Ozempic and MAGA hats.
So I'm cheap. I don't want to buy the actual jersey of the new blue one, but I want to get a jersey and I want to get a Tucker one.
Sure.
They're still not making them yet. You can't buy them. Why?
That's a fall. That's a fail.
You can buy like one of the old blue ones. They have a Tucker one of those, but they don't have one of the new ones.
No. That's crazy. You got to be ready for that.
Yes.
I do like that jersey though. I do like it.
I do too. I think an underrated part of it is I really like that the guitar pick Chicago on the sleeve. That's really
pretty
nice.
Cool. Yeah, did a nice job with that.
Just when you think Nike will never have a good idea for jerseys, like they did this and it's great. And I got to tell you the thing I'm most excited about, they'll prove me wrong when they go to wear them, is they're not wearing, at least in the mock-ups, they're not wearing powder blue pants.
Okay.
They're going to wear white ones. Because I think this is only at home. I guess I'm sure they can wear the grays on the road. Because I think the Royals look the best in their powder blues because they don't wear the obnoxious powder blue pants. They just wear their whites or their grays. And it's just a sharp look. Because I like the powder blue, but I can't handle all that powder blue. I just can't.
Okay. I can
It's a
get with
Herb
that.
Tarlick leisure suit when you put the pants on. It's why I hated the City Connects with the blue pants. I didn't like it.
I just didn't like the City Connects at all.
I thought the whole Wrigleyville thing was dumb.
Yeah, it was weak.
The only part of it, I did like the logo with the star, with the city star in it, the C with that's nice.
Yeah, that was cool.
I liked the socks. I thought they had cool socks, the one with it. But otherwise, it was very underwhelming.
You're right about that. Yep. I still would love to see the Cubs bring back either the late 60s road uniforms or the late 70s powder blue ones. I still think those are pretty cool.
I'm shocked that the Ricketts have not done anything with the road grays. They've owned this team since 2009. Those are just blah. Like you have this entire history. One of the cool things, I should link to it on the post for this because I'll go find it on the Paul Lucas, the Uniwatch thing. He has a thing about the history of Cub uniforms. Mm-hmm. The Cubs have like one of the most interesting history of uniform. They innovated all kinds of stuff. They did stuff before anybody else. They had the first powder blues, but they have a lot of other stuff, and they have a lot of cool road uniforms in their history that they could like mimic or update, and they just won't do it. And I don't remember if it's this podcast. I think it was this one, right? Didn't we last year? We fixed all the uniforms. Like the alternate blue should go away with the crawling Cub.
Yep,
and that should become the '84 era blue top, which fans still
I'd be good with that too.
And wear. Yep. Like that should be their alternate blue uniform.
Yeah, I did a whole podcast on this with Paul last time I did my pod, and it was one of the most highly rated pods I ever did. People love talking about uniforms.
Well, I will link to your podcast instead. People won't have to read; they can just click that and watch that, and listen to that whole podcast.
Yeah, I don't know if that is still up because I stopped doing that one, but I'm gonna bring it back. So you'll be having to make appearances on that one.
Yeah. Beers. What was it? Beers and Beat Writers?
Beers and Beat Guys.
Beat Guys.
If it was, I'm pretty sure it was Paul, but if it wasn't Paul, it was somebody else from his site. We talked pretty in depth about the Cubs uniforms.
Well, look, if not, I will find that.
Yeah, I'll find it. I'll tell you next time.
The article on the Cub uniform is really interesting because they did do some cool stuff. Yeah,
no, it's that stuff is fascinating to me. I'm a big aesthetic guy. But yeah, no, I definitely like what they did with the I think it was Faulkner that texted with a couple years ago after I did that pod. He was like, "Well, what do you want to see changed?" And I gave him some ideas, and never heard back. So
it's just strange.
I mean, they don't.
I was going to say, the one uniform thing the Ricketts did that I really appreciate is they, except for oddly for 2 games in the middle of whatever season Edbert made his debut in.
Yeah.
At some point, they stopped letting the players pick the blue uniforms at home. They only wear the pinstripes at home, except for when they did City Connect Fridays, and they're going to do this alternate jersey. It's going to get mixed in. But I hated the blue. I don't mind it on the road so much with the gray pants. I hate it with the pinstripe pants. And I don't.
Okay.
And they stopped letting the pitchers pick the uniform at some point. And I appreciate that. So that was like one. So the Ricketts and the plus column for me is won a World Series and I got rid of the blue uniforms at home. Those are the 2 things on the plus side. Everything else negative because I'm a hard grader. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
No, it's okay. Yeah, it was Paul Lucas that I had on. It was, I'll have to send you that pod. I don't know if it's still coming up because, like I said, no, it's not. We'll see if I can get Buzzsprout to fix that. But yeah, it was Paul Lucas, Uni Watch. And then I had another guy on after that, Bud Parks, that also writes for Uni Watch. And those are like 2 of the highest rated episodes I ever did.
Yeah. Well, we love to obsess over uniforms. I mean, we saw that last year when we freaked out about how they ruined them.
Oh God. Yeah, I heard that. I read a whole article about that just 2 days ago. How about it looks like it's going to be fixed. So we're going to see less sweaty men and hopefully less testicles. I think that would be good.
Yeah. Less testicles he pitched for the 67 Cubs. He wasn't very good. It seemed like every batter he started with 2 balls.
Oh.
Yeah, really the only thing we're going to notice at home is the normal sized letters on the back of the uniform.
Yeah.
That to me was the other stuff. I understood it was bad and the players didn't like it and they should fix it. But to me, the tiny letters on it was awful. Just no,
the only player that this is going to backfire on though is PCA.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know how he's going to, I think he's going to fall over. I mean, that's a lot of weight.
It's going to cost him like a half a second to go to first.
Well, I wonder if he's going to do the thing, the Encarnacio Strand. When he first broke in, he had the whole name and it almost made like a circle.
Yep.
And at some point he just decided, fuck Strand. That's going off the jersey. Now, if I were Pete, what I would do, and the Cubs should do this, they should just put PCA on the back of his uniform. Yeah. And I'm going to make another plea to him. He needs a smaller number. 52 is a bad number.
Yes.
It doesn't work.
Yeah,
there's a whole bunch of single-digit numbers that came available when they dumped all those guys. Give him the old Madrigal 1. He looks like
those are the numbers that they give the rookies, like in spring training.
Yeah, he just kept it. And there are guys who do that. They're like, "Oh, this is my number. I'll just keep it. I'll make it mine." But it looks dumb. You're not big enough to wear it. The 52 is too big, and the name is ridiculous. It's just not gonna work. Or you're just gonna have to tell whichever one of your parents is Armstrong, "Sorry, I'm going Crow," because that looks cool. Although, I mean, me and Rick Sutcliffe both think his first name is Pete Crow. All one word. So why does he have that on the back anyway? I mean, while we're on it, I don't understand why. And maybe, I mean, if they don't ask for it, that's fine. But why don't Shota and Seiya have Shota and Seiya on the back of their uniforms? Because in Japan, that's what they would have, I think.
Yeah.
Ichiro wanted Ichiro, and they did it. But I also think it would be cool if they put the names on it in kanji. I think it would look really cool. In the Japanese alphabet.
Okay.
Just spell out his name that way. It's on his bobblehead. Shota's got it on the bobblehead, which is cool. Put it on the uniform. Why not? I mean, what is the White House going to cut your funding? Maybe they'll take the national landmark status away. It's too DEI to put what's with the foreign characters on the back of that jersey. We're going to start charging you taxes on your crappy little ballpark now, Tom. All right. Well, I think we covered expertly Jed's dilemma.
Yeah.
And then I always like a good 15 minutes of uniform talk. If I could work it into every podcast, I would.
Yeah. We need to time block for uniform and bobblehead giveaways. I
have lots of suggestions about player numbers too. I always think there are players like Pete. You got to change that. You got to get a single digit number. If that means we have to release Alexander Canario if you want to wear 4, fine. But it's a small price to pay for you having a better looking number. Be the best number 4 since who? Jason DuBois.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about this more on when I bring my podcast back. But yeah, I remember the Cubs. I always thought that they were very strategically trying to shoehorn certain players into players that they thought they might resemble, like Corey Patterson with 20 and, Lou Brock and Kerry Wood with, Nolan Ryan. And who else am I thinking of? There's a couple others that were like, okay, I see what you're doing there. It wasn't an accident.
Well, let's see, Anthony Rizzo and Phil Cavaretta. Maybe if Yosh was still around. May have been
years ago, but I thought
that might have been a thing. If Yosh was still around for Tony, that might have been a thing.
Yeah.
I think isn't it the old Bear guy though who literally would do that? Would like give new numbers to new players that he thought.
Yeah.
Maybe it was even. I think the Yankees had a clubhouse guy who did that. Like he somehow he squirreled away 2 for Jeter. Like after spring training, like the year before in spring training, he like wouldn't let anybody have 2 because he was saving it for Jeter.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Because it was the only. Well, I think was Torrey there yet?
Well, so wait. Last thing I was going to ask you is Sosa became 21 when he came here, right? I don't think he had it on the White Sox.
No, he was 25.
25, right?
And I think he was 17 with the Rangers before, and he was 21 the second time.
Obviously, having him have Clemente's number and playing right field was like.
Yeah.
Definitely suggestive.
Well, Ian Happ and Andre Dawson. It's a perfect pairing.
Yeah.
So clearly that's why they held that for him.
Yeah.
I did like, Shota supposedly asked Ben Zobrist for permission to wear 18. Do you remember that? They have the same agent. And it's like, they're not retiring. I mean, he was the World Series MVP. They're not retiring 18, Shota. You don't have to ask permission. You can just ask for it. Because 18 is that's like the pitching ace number in Japan.
Oh, I didn't know that.
That's why a bunch of them have worn it in the U.S.
Now,
yeah. And so that was like the number that he wanted, but he made a big show of the fact that he asked Ben if it was okay.
Okay.
It would have been funny if Ben said no. And I don't know if somebody probably already worn it since then. I just retire for Cole Liniak. I don't know who had 18. All right. Well, I'm not going to stop. I could look that up, but I'm not going to do that. All right. Well, thanks, Tom.
Yeah.
Many of us have herpes.
Post-game show is brought to you by Christ, I can't find it. The hell with it.
It's fitting. It's got to be done with one of the best games of all time. Just unbelievable. I mean, got to congratulate the Dolan family.
Sean, my podcast co-host Andy, you were his favorite player growing up.
Oh, thank you so much, awesome.